All right, my friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm Brian, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the geography of Southeast Asia versus the United States as it relates to landmass and travel times between the cities. Now, there's a specific reason why I want to discuss this today. One is for my Western audience who may not be very familiar with Southeast Asia, and second is for my local Asian and Filipino audience who also may be unfamiliar with the size and scale of the United States. So let's go ahead and dive in. Now, surprisingly, distance and travel times here in Southeast Asia are very similar to flying from state to state in the United States. And yes, there are travel visa requirements and more paperwork when you are traveling internationally. Yet for me, this is one of the most exciting parts about relocating from the United States to this side of the world over here in Manila, Philippines. Traveling from state to state like I used to do a lot back in the United States has now been replaced with having the opportunity here in Manila, Philippines to travel from country to country throughout Asia. So a simple work trip that I used to take often from Raleigh, North Carolina to Denver, Colorado, nonstop flight, which was right under 4 hours of flight time. Now I can jump on a flight here in Manila and travel to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Singapore, Bangkok, Thailand, or even Bali, Indonesia, all in the same amount of time it would take me to fly that work flight that I took all the time from Raleigh, North Carolina to Denver, Colorado. Those direct flights are exactly the same. And yes, I can hear the critics in the comics, well, in the United States, I can drive from state to state. Okay, very, very true. Yet, tell you what, I invite you to drive to Hawaii and let me know how that goes for you when you get there. Seriously, all joking aside, my friends, let's pull up some maps and have some fun with this. Okay, if we look at Southeast Asia, which is comprised of 10 of the following countries who are part of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, these would be the Philippines, Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Now, side note here, Timor-Leste, I'm probably botching that, I'm sorry, and Papua New Guinea are considered observer states. So to my understanding, they're not part of this group of countries, the ASEAN, I believe it's called. They're more of like a preliminary or looking to maybe join at some point. But now let's go ahead and do something. Let's go ahead and expand this map to the greater region of both Asia as well as India, okay? Now, bear with me for a second here. There's a reason why I'm making this map so big, so stay with me. All right. Now, if we overlay the United States on top of this map, keeping the scales exactly the same, you will see just how big the United States is and how much landmass it actually covers. Now, one thing to point out here that is very important, and that is the United States and Southeast Asia are in completely different latitudes. This is only for scale. I'm only showing landmass here, okay? All right, so now if we go ahead and overlay this map of the United States and place Washington, D.C. over top of where the city of Manila here in the Philippines is, again, latitudes are different between these cities, so I'm just showing scale. Doing this puts Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, right around where Houston, Texas is located in the United States. So yes, a flight from Washington, D.C. in the U.S. to Houston, Texas would be around the same flight time from Manila to Kuala Lumpur, which is often just under 4 hours of flight time. And at the time I'm making this video, the average cost, I looked at flight costs between these different cities. So flight costs from Washington, D.C. to Houston and flights going from Manila to Kuala Lumpur, the average cost round trip flights are nearly identical. It's somewhere right around the $200 range if you're booking out about 5 to 6 weeks out. Okay, now let's look at flying from Manila here in the Philippines to Bangkok, Thailand. Well, that would be similar from a trip from Washington, D.C. to Wichita, Kansas, so halfway across the country, which is often just around, I believe it's right around 3 hours of flight time to go there. All right, let's do another one. Now let's compare the scale of the United States if we keep, again, the city of Manila kind of pinned right where Washington, D.C. is in this example, okay? This would roughly put Mumbai, India, way outside of Southeast Asia. In fact, way over on the other side of the United States. In fact, it would fall into the Oregon coast of the United States. And take a look at where San Diego would lie. San Diego would fall into Sri Lanka. So yes, the landmass of the United States is absolutely huge when you compare it to scale for Southeast Asia here, as well as across basically Asia and India. All right, let's look at a few more. So flights from Manila in the Philippines to Bali, Indonesia would be right around that 4 hour flight time mark. And then again, if we look at, let's say, flights from Manila to Tokyo, Japan, right? That would also be just over 4 hours of flight time. Or flights from Manila to Seoul, South Korea, again, we're looking at exactly around that 4-hour flight time. Now, if we compare this to flights in the US domestically, this would be very similar if you were flying, let's say, from Atlanta, Georgia to Las Vegas, Nevada. Or even something like a Chicago to San Francisco traveling domestically in the US. So really, the flight times are really short when you start looking at not only Southeast Asia, but Asia in general. Actually, to go from country to country, it is really much like going from state to state in the US. All right, how about flights from Manila to Hong Kong? Well, that's just over 2.5 hours of flight time. All right, let's look at another one here. All right, let's say the same flight from Manila, Philippines to Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. Again, that's another 2.5-hour flight. You see, these flights would be very similar, again, traveling domestically for something like a leg in the US, let's say Denver, Colorado to Seattle, Washington. Or how about jumping on a flight from Dallas, Texas to Orlando, Florida? They're both about the same timeline of about that 2.5-hour distance. All right, my friends, so I don't know about you, but I find this really cool. The fact that I can, in this region of the world, living here in Manila, Philippines, having the opportunity to branch out and explore so many different countries and cultures is just wonderful. All right, my friends, I hope this gives you a little overview of the size and scale of these two regions of the world. So go ahead, let's talk about this in the comments section. Please like and subscribe, and always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.